My name is Monica, and I recognize that white privilege is real. I have come to see white privilege as an invisible package of unearned assets that I can count on cashing in each day, but about which I was meant to remain oblivious. This quote by Peggy McIntosh really sums up how I've come to see white privilege because I was oblivious to it for almost my entire life. I grew up in a very small community that was mainly white, and because of that, there weren't conversations happening about racism, about white privilege. And the only time that I ever talked about race was in history class. And in that context, it was only talked about in the past tense. Because of these lack of conversations, I came to believe in this colorblind ideology. If we weren't talking about race, then race is no an issue. Needless to say, UW Madison really challenged my ideas surrounding race, and I was introduced to the term white privilege for the first time. And after learning the facts about racial disparities, about white privilege, I could look back on my life and I could see how it had played such a huge role in my life. I could see white privilege in the education that I was able to receive, about the education in which my parents were able to afford for me. I could see white privilege in the way that authority figures treated me compared to how they treated my black peers at my school. I could see white privilege in the fact that I only saw police officers in my neighborhood because that is where they lived. Because of my new awareness surrounding race, I decided to participate in a solidarity march for the black students of the University of Missouri whose lives were threatened because of the color of their skin. And this march really challenged how I viewed race and really brought to my attention my white privilege. I marched with over 1,000 other people from Bascom Hill to the Capitol, and many of these people were people of color. I didn't know what to expect going into the march, so at first I had this excitement of getting involved and trying to make a difference. But about halfway through the march, I started to lose some of that energy that I had originally had. I started thinking about all of the things that I needed to be doing, homework that needed to be done. I was cold, and all these things just kept popping up in my mind, and so I thought about leaving. And there were so many other people, I thought that it would be okay. But then I looked around me and I saw all of these students chanting Black Lives Matter. And that's when it hit me. I could leave because I'm white, because my white skin has earned me this privilege of safety, of not having to fear to go to class in the morning. And the students of color around me, they didn't have that privilege. They weren't there just to march in solidarity with the students of Mizzou. They were there marching for their right to exist in the way that I get to exist every day because of the color of my skin. And right after I'd had this revelation, we started this chant. Racism is at Mizzou, it's on our campus too. Racism is at Mizzou, it's on our campus too. And that is really when all the pieces fell together for me. I could see how my white privilege played a larger role in systemic racism, in the issue of race of today. My name is Monica, and my story challenges the belief that white privilege is always invisible.